I would put all of this time and dedication in and skip things, and then when things didn't happen, I'd be so upset that I had, like, sacrificed something,
Yes.
and it's funny how the work comes when you choose yourself.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Hassiem Muhammad, and you are listening to The Actor's Instrument, where we discuss the essential qualities you need to stand out in the entertainment industry. And you could help us get the word out even further by subscribing to our YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, please go ahead and do so. Since the end of the writers and actors strike of 2023, many of us have felt like there just hasn't been enough work and that things have slowed down. Now, the question is this feeling fact or fiction? Well, joining me on the show today, we have an actor whose career has only seemed to jump levels post strike. Kylie Victoria Edwards is a triple threat performer with a background in both classical and Balanchine ballet technique. Her love for Golden Age theater and film knows no bounds, nor does her love for Epsom salt baths and a good book. She has used her many talents to work on national tours, in music videos, and on TV. Some of her recent credits include guest star appearances on Law and Order, FBI Most Wanted, and American Sports Story. Kylie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah,
Thank you for such a lovely intro. It's so
I
kind.
try, I try, I mean, this is you. You deserve it. You've been doing the work, you know? So kudos to you.
Oh, thank you. I
Mhm.
feel like there's not a lot of time of reflecting on that
Mhm.
what we do. It's like you do something and then it's on to the
Yeah, no,
next.
that's that is absolutely fair. And for the listeners out there, Kylie and I met in an acting class, actually.
Indeed.
Um,
Mhm.
the Bob Krakauer gang. So,
The best
I
humans,
mean, we like to think so.
you know.
Speaking of taking class, when I reached out to you, you were like, "Yeah,
Mhm.
I'd love to, but I'm in Paris in school." And I was like, so can you talk to us a little about that? You're in school? What are you studying? What's going
Yeah.
on?"
So, I didn't do the traditional route. After high school deferred and I jumped into a ballet company for a number of years, and then after that kind of pivoted to theater and then from theater to film. So it's kind of been this ride of progressing kind of through different mediums. But during that, I still wanted to have some sort of education, so I'm with this program, called LEAP. It's through St. Mary's College of California, and they have stations in LA and San Francisco and New York, and it's for specifically performing artists to continue their college career, like, through, their whatever form they're doing, essentially. It used to start out with, like, lectures that were on Sunday nights specifically so that theater performers could literally go from their matinee to lectures in the evening, which is crazy. And it's also not your typical group of people. Like, I had people in my class who were in their 40s who wanted to get their eventually get their master's for, like, an MFA. So they were, like, in their 40s performing 8 shows a week, doing, like, their college degree, which was so cool as, like, a very non-traditional path. A lot of years later, I finally reached the end, and which is funny because I had been feeling a little like after the pandemic, I had been in my same my same apartment for 4 years, and you know the grind, like, you're doing your side hustle job, you're, recording tapes, some of them, you win some, you lose some, um, and I was just starting to feel like I was in this, not rut necessarily, but, like, I was just, like, itching for some sort of change, and, I'd been talking with my therapist, and, I had this realization that I didn't want to not have graduated by 30, and that with work happening in the way that it was, I was worried that I would always take work over school, which is such a privilege, but I was I wa I was worried that I would have done all of this without finishing, and so I was like, "The work will always be there." I had to, like, tell myself to trust it a little bit, and I've always wanted to live in Paris. It's been, like, a life goal, like, I've always wanted to learn French. I took it in school, but I wanted to be, like, fluent, um, and I was like, "I'm gonna take this last semester to check off all the things so I live with no regrets." Like, 1 semester with real people at, like, a real school, like, in it, 1 semester abroad, and I knew that at the end of it, I would graduate because it was my last thing, so it was kind of a place to trap myself to finish it, um and I had already finished pretty much all my credits, so it was only classes that I really wanted to take. I had 10 credits left. Everything else I'd been doing, like, while I was on tour or during the pandemic. I had been really nervous to tell my agents about it in the summer, and I was feeling, a little iffy, but I took the leap, and we had the conversation, and they supported me 100%, which was so wonderful. And I kid you not, I sent the email being like, "LOL, like, of course, now that I told you, like, of course there's gonna be something that, like,
Yeah.
happens." They called me an hour and a half later saying that I had been pinned for
You're
FBI.
kidding me.
No.
Wow. Wait.
So I'm like, I'm a big believer in, like, you test the universe,
Mhm.
book the flight, do the
Yeah.
thing.
Well, there's a saying, like, if you wanna book something, go on vacation. It's
Yep.
like, get out
Yeah,
of town and then the phone will ring. Um,
exactly. It's like the watched pot theory.
exactly, exactly. Like, we're all sitting around waiting, 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 and nothing happens. So leave.
Mhm.
And, what I think you're hitting on, what's striking to me is this sense of no regrets, like,
Yeah.
that being so important to you, and I just love that for so many reasons. I feel like I've talked to so many actors who have, maybe further in their careers, who put a lot of things on hold
Mhm.
for their career,
Yeah.
or actors who are currently around our age, young actors just starting their careers, who are scared to do things because they think it's gonna inhibit their career.
Yeah.
They're scared to travel abroad. They're scared to buy a home, start a family, get married, whatever it is. A lot of people are like, "Oh, no, I need my career to be in this place before I can do that."
Exactly, and I think when I was younger, I had that mentality, I was obviously following what was the path of least resistance in the best way, because I think that's kind of like things that don't need to be forced are the things that come to you naturally and in that sense of, like, fate, but I was like, These experiences are only gonna make my acting better because I can be a real person," I've been having tapes while I've been here where I'm playing, like, college students, and I'm like, "Oh, I've got
Right,
this."
right, right. Good for you, just doing what you feel like is right for you, because, I mean, I'm 50 episodes in on this now. I think this is my, like.
With congratulations, that's
Thank you.
huge.
Yeah, so I think this is, like, we're halfway to 100, and something that I've learned from my guests is, like, do you, because there's no one path. Like,
Yeah, that's a thing.
nobody can look at you and say, "Oh, you have to do X, Y, and Z to get here." Now, obviously, and the reason why the
Mhm.
show exists is because I believe that there are clues we can take from people who have done the thing before. Um, but to
Yeah.
say that there's just one way is not true. So, I mean, I've had a friend who got pinned for stuff while she was literally hiking the Appalachian Trail and sent in self-tapes from her tent.
Yeah, I that's actually incredible.
And, like.
But she was like, I'm gonna live my life, and this is the circumstance, so."
Exactly, and, like, nobody would ever tell you to, like, self-tape from a tent. Most of the time, they're like, "You need a clean
Yeah.
background, and everything has to be perfect, and this tape has to be perfect."
But life is messy. Like,
Life's
there's
messy.
never gonna be the per y yeah, and I think that there's, like you said, there's tools to help you when you get the call, when you get the tape, Like, one of my favorite things was from Julie Tucker where she's like, "The audition it begins when you get the email." Like, it begins with you not procrastinating at the opportunity. Like, it doesn't need to be perfect, but it just means that, like, psychologically, that's, like, when it starts, you know what I mean? Like, not waiting till the perfect opportunity, till you're off book, till you do the thing. It's like, you got the email, like, you should just start, I feel like there's steps, like, if you need to coach, like, evaluate, "Do I need to coach this? Is this something that I need to can I just trust my own instincts? Is this something that I should reach out to somebody in our team of people just to get a set of eyes?" And then, like, sending those emails, scheduling, when are you gonna tape it? Like, I think even though those sound so, like, minuscule, I think that's what sets up you for success to be able to do it?
If there's anybody listening who is thinking of maybe doing some big drastic lifestyle thing, how would you balance
Mhm.
you're in Paris, in school,
Mhm.
What do you do if you book something?
You gotta evaluate whether you gotta move back or not, and I've had to do that. There was one opportunity I had to turn down, because we were so close, you know what I mean, and it was right near finals, and but my team was like, "You've worked with this team before, and it's not a" it was, a dancing opportunity, so they were like, "The way that your career is going, we kind of think that you're okay, but the taping that we had done during my time here would be if they sent me a tape and they were like, "We really think this is worth coming back for," then I'd be like, "Absolutely." And we'd put it on, on tape. And there were ones that I was kinda like hoping I was gonna be going home, you know?
Sure, sure. Well, I think it's great that you have that kind of relationship with your reps, that, you trust them in that way that, if they say, hey, we think this is important, that you trust them. And
Yeah.
also that they're really so receptive to you wanting to live your life the way that you want to live it.
I feel so, so lucky to have the team that I have. Sophia, my agent, has been with me for over 10 years. She signed me as a ballerina, and we've really grown into things since then. So, like, our wins are each other's wins, and then my manager, Julia, who I signed with about a year and a half ago, she's so, like, pro-life before career. It's really refreshing. Obviously, she's motivated and she's really, really good at, like, touching in on things, but at the end of the day, like, we have a relationship where we talk about life and vacations and, like, how things are going, like, outside um, of stuff. She was so receptive, it was so wonderful. Actually, I had, like, a really hard time telling them at first, and I, like, sent them kind of like a cryptic email where I was like, "Hey, guys, can we talk?" And, like, Juliet called me and she was like, "Are you firing us?" I was like,
Oh,
"No."
no, no, wait.
I was like, literally the opposite. I was like, "Please don't fire me." She was like, "Thank God."
Back to back guest stars on American Sports Story and FBI post strike. Like, again, like I said in the intro, this is a time where a lot of actors, I was just on set this week and, we're all like, so how's it going? And everybody's like, we're sort of how it's going for you. Like, we're trying to work through, but it feels slow, whatever. You've been killing it and you shouldn't feel bad for it. Um, so I guess my question is like, how is this feeling? Like, it really does seem like your career has taken off in the last year.
It's a strange feeling because I think there is this sense where there's not really like a acknowledgement of that for myself just because sometimes I think not that we put down our successes, but I think also in the industry, like, it's not as often that we celebrate our wins, it's more that we, like, help each other commiserate through the process of things. But I do feel an excitement about coming back in January, especially because I filmed all of this stuff before I left for Paris, and then it all came out while I was here. It's reaffirmed that I love what I do, and I'm excited to get back to it. Sometimes it's really hard to, because I think that it has this sense of, like, not being humble or, like, you know what I mean? Like, I have my own self-censoring versions of not wanting to take up too much space in that capacity. Because I also think, while it's a huge win, like it is, I also am, like, in my mind, I'm like, "Okay, but, like, I would love to do a feature," or "I would love to do," which just sounds so bad to always be wishing for more, but
Who doesn't?
yeah,
Let's
exactly. So
let's keep it a buck now. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody always wants more.
Mhm,
And speaking of wanting more, I was looking at your resume and
mhm.
it I don't know if you organized it this way or this is how it happened, but it seems like you've had a steady progression. And by steady, I don't necessarily mean it was quick or whatever, but a progression from like,
Mhm,
ensemble dancer in X
mhm.
project to, I'm in the background here, co-star to guest star.
It's been a slow uptrend, but in a good way, and I don't think I would have it any other way. One of my, like, background credits is West Side Story. I did the Spielberg, movie, but I wasn't one of the featured dancers, I was background. But I actually fought for it. My team was like, "I don't know, this doesn't seem like what we're really wanting," and I was like, "I wanna be in that room, I wanna be with that energy, I wanna be with those people," and, like, part of that legacy, it doesn't matter necessarily. And I'm so glad I did because also it was very clear when you step in that space who treats you like a person and who treats you like background? It was an amazing experience, and I loved every second of being in that room, but at the same time, there are top actors who treat you like a person as if like, there were people who were like, "Thank you so much for being here, like, we're all part of this," and then there were other people where it was very clear that it was like they did not like, you were cardboard, you know? And I'm so glad that I had that experience because I hope that whenever I'm on a set, if I'm in that position where I have more power, I can make everybody else feel seen that they're in that room and that we're all creating this together because I think it's so important.
Yeah.
So that's something that's always really stuck with me.
I remember when I was in college, I had a professor, we were doing Shakespeare, it was our 2nd year, and, it was we're still young and scrappy, and so everybody's vying for the lead roles. And I remember him mentioning a thing about being the lead of a show, and he was like, "Being the lead isn't just about being the titular character." He was like, "If you're the lead, you need to be the first one in the room, last one out. You need to be the first one off book." Being someone who has those qualities, that's what's in their career, like, that's the thing that's gonna keep them getting into those roles because people are gonna recognize and see that in them, and those are the people they're gonna want leading their productions.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's like you set that energy and um that standard for people. I really do believe that. But yeah, it has kind of been like this way up. My first co-star for a TV film was Maisel. And I'd just come back from San Diego and I had pivoted over to I wanted to do musical theater. That's why I came back. And I remember getting called in for it and Marguerite Derricks had us all in rolling chairs. And the audition was that you had to push off with 1 foot and land on 2 feet in rolling chairs, and we had to do all this choreography in the chairs, and at the end, they actually put these headsets on us, and we had to do our lines as if we were wearing the headsets, and that was the whole audition, and I remember being booked, which was really exciting, and I loved, that 1st season, and when we got on set, we had 1 day of rehearsal, and at the end of the day, Amy pulls me aside with Marguerite, and she goes, "Okay, so and so is gonna do this, and then Kylie, you're gonna have this part." So she just gave me new sides, and she was like, "Great, see you guys in, like, 2 days, and we'll shoot." I was like, "Okay, what just happened?" We, like, get in the elevator, and all of the girls are around me, and they're like, "Oh my god, congratulations," and I was like, I had never, like I'm a ballet dancer at that point, so I was like, what?" And they were like, "Ah, we're so excited for you." But, like, looking back, all I remember is that the whole day, they had, like, described to us how the switchboards from the 1950s, like, worked. Like, they gave us, like, a little, like, book on how to use them, and I to this day think that the reason that I got bumped up is because the entire time I was just, like, playing like a kid on a
Oh,
set with, like I realize now it's behavior,
yeah.
but at the time, um, it was just me wanting to, pretend I was in the
Look
1950s.
at that little happy accident. I mean,
Um,
it came from you. You were
I know.
practicing the thing. You were getting into character. Um,
I was, but I realized that I didn't really know anyone on set at the time because they all knew each other within that community, and so there was a lot of, like, talking and, like and I was just over here, being socially anxious and just, like, playing with the set.
we'll take it. I'll take the bump.
We'll take it.
That sounds like it was a bit of an accident, but my question for you is this progression that you've seen, this steady progression we're talking about, how much of that has been intentional? How much of that has been you talking to your team and saying, "No, this is what I want next," or are you somebody who's just like, "Whatever comes to me, I'll take it"?
It was all intentional. After Maisel, I was like, "I will never be caught off guard like that ever again," and I also was like, "I'm obsessed with this. What is this medium?" I fell in love. It changed everything. My first acting class was not, like, my first acting class, but my first, like, on-camera class was at Stella Adler. It was, like, a level 1 scene study. I took class all through the pandemic, basically, on Zoom. I mean, obviously, we know what that all men.
Yeah.
Um, but then I ended up getting the call about Gilded Age right when I was moving back from to the city from Vermont, 'cause I moved home for a
Heard.
year. And that's kind of what was the catapult, and since then, we've been, like, very intentional on how to kinda step into these new
Nice. Nice.
things.
I'm a big fan of strategy. I believe in being intentional about your career. I think there's maybe a phase of one's career where taking whatever gets thrown at you is probably advantageous. But yeah, I like to hear that once you knew what you wanted, you set a course and set sail. Now, with the strike, I got an email, which I'm sure you did and every other member of SAG-AFTRA. It was like an auditions survey. They were trying to see like how things were post-strike, which who knows who filled it out or how many people filled it out. I don't know, but I did the survey and it asked questions like how many auditions did you have the year before the strike? How many auditions did you have the year after the strike? Do you feel like you've had more or less opportunities? It was that kind of a survey. And so I'm curious, as someone who has seemed to really lift off post strike, did those bookings like did those come from less auditions that you just happen to be booking more, or did your audition rate seem the same? I'm just curious what that's looked like for you.
Honestly, I think there were about 2 or 3 weeks when we were back on that things were a little bumpy, there wasn't a ton. Um, but then after that, things definitely picked up. I would say after filming Gladiator, things started to kind of be a little bit more, um I think just, even from what I heard from my team is that, like, when you have the credits, it's easier to like, not like having the credits, like, on your resume, but, like, when you've come off of working on a job, it's easier for them to pitch you, which is nice. Um
The reason why I'm bringing this up is I just think it's so important for the folks listening to understand that, again, nobody's path is the same. And I remember even pre all this craziness that's been happening in our industry, COVID strike, we talk about it so much. I remember before that, some people would be like, yeah, things are just slow right now. And I don't remember who it was, but a friend told me they were like, it's never slow. They're like, it may just be slow for someone or types of someone's. They're like, but the industry
Mhm.
doesn't sleep anymore. There's no pilot season anymore with streaming. Like, think,
Yeah, there also doesn't seem to be a surge of pilot season either, you know? Like, I feel like it's wild. I'll have, like, a couple tapes that happen all at once, and then I won't hear anything for, like, 4
yeah,
weeks, and then, it's kinda like there's nothing really, like, steady,
yeah,
I guess. It just kinda happens when it
yeah. And to be
happens.
clear, and not to come off as being naive or whatever, post
Nope.
strike there is quantifiably less work. If we're being clear, we had
Mm. Mhm.
600 television, TV shows pre-strike. Post-strike, that number dropped to about
Mhm.
300. So it's yeah, so, like,
Whoa.
unequivocally, there is less work, like, and so I'm not trying to say that maybe there's not.
No, no, no. I mean, like, I do think that yeah, especially with I feel like production companies are a little for a while and
Yeah.
still a little scared to put money behind things just because of the way that the industry has been
Well,
with,
and
you know.
and with the writers on there was no new material. Like,
Yeah.
we have to remember this started with the writer's strike. This is not mat and
Mhm.
whether
I
we
know.
went on a strike or not, something similar would have transpired. Um, is there
Mhm.
anything in particular that you credit with this recent breakthrough? Is there something in class that finally stuck? Is there something that you were doing in your tapes, something in your approach, or is it just kinda like you've just been weathering away at the wall and then finally, boom?
I think I stopped caring as much about not I do because we talk about this a lot in class. I think it is just the machine of doing it enough times to not be in your own way, and I think letting letting myself be spontaneous enough to, like, trust that I've done the work and, like, letting I'm breathing a lot more. Like, I honestly do think that it is a mixture of stuff in class and then also getting out of my own head enough to, like, let that just happen in a way that, is
Yeah.
authentic. I filmed this after a family reunion. I, like, got the tape before going to the family reunion, and old Kylie would have left the family reunion.
Mm,
Like, old me would have been like, "I'm staying home. I'm learning these lines so that I'm completely off book, and then I'm gonna, like, figure out who's gonna tape it with me and when I'm gonna do it." And the new Kylie was like, You're fine."
mm,
So I, like, learned them in the car and, like, spent more time with my family and, like, had my family run them with
yeah.
me in, like, fun ways and things like that, and I, like, talked it over with a friend and talked about behaviors and threw it on tape, sent it in, and didn't overthink
I
it,
love that.
and I think that's really just that's it.
Mm. I love it, like and sometimes I've heard from so many people that we tend to do our best work when we care a little less, which seems so counterintuitive, but I shot a commercial this week, and my tape was due I got the call, like, right before Thanksgiving, like, maybe 2 days
Mhm,
before Thanksgiving, and I was traveling, and so I was like, "Okay," I brought, some stuff, I was like, "I'll film it at my sister's house." But then
yeah,
once I'm there, I'm like, I just kinda wasn't in the mood to film, and so I was like, "I'll just film when I get home,"
mhm,
right? So and we drove,
mhm.
12-hour drive. We get we get
Whoa.
back to New York, and now I'm tired, and I was like, "Okay, it's due tomorrow." It's due on a Monday, we got back on a Sunday, and I threw it on tape that Sunday night because I felt like I didn't wanna do, like, last minute to where it's Monday morning, I'm trying to tape, didn't wanna run into that.
Mhm, mhm.
So
Yeah, the taping before the countdown
yeah,
never
don't
goes well.
don't don't recommend to the folks at home. But I did it just the night before. I had my whole Thanksgiving weekend, spent time with my family as you were talking about, waited till I got home, put it on tape. 2 days later, had the offer.
Yeah, like, that's you know what I mean?
And
Congrats, that's
yeah.
amazing to be able to live your life and trust that the work will still be there. I think that's half of it, because then you're not, like, taking time out of your own, like, furthering of
Mhm.
yourself, which only helps your career, but, like, to sacrifice for something that, like, say I mean, I was finding I would, put all of this time and dedication in and skip things, and then when things didn't happen, I'd be so upset that I had, like, sacrificed something,
Yes.
and it's funny how the work comes when you choose yourself.
Mm.
But
Come on, drop it. Come on with the wisdom.
yeah.
Come on.
Oh,
No, I
no.
no,
But
because
that's true because we self-sacrifice so much as artists, you
yeah.
know?
No, I need to hear this. I'm one of those people who will just, like, work so hard on a thing, like, there was an audition I had a couple weeks
Mhm.
ago for a Broadway show, and I put a lot into it. Didn't even get a
Yeah.
call back. And like you said, now I'm, like, frustrated because 'cause I'm like, "Well, shoot." I was like, I and not
I know.
and to be clear, I do think there is value in that, like, that is part of doing the work. That is
Oh,
it's part of the
absolutely.
muscle, but I think we have to
Mhm.
release the expectation that, like
Like, I worked, therefore I know, and I'm that way too, and it depends on the audition, if I'm being honest, like, if there's a tape that I get that I'm like, "I want this so
Yep.
bad," like, I will trap myself and,
Yeah.
like, try to
Yeah.
work on it too, so it's a reminder to myself as well, but it's funny how, like, in the evidence of it all, the things work out typically for me when, like, ease is part of the
Yeah.
equation.
Yeah. What was your favorite part about being on FBI? Because you had an exciting episode.
I did. I got to be a villain, and that was really sick. Um, and I got to use a lot of like stage combat stuff, which I know that that's like also your
Yeah.
forte as well. So being able to like use that physicality was so much fun. Yeah, we had like stunt coordinators on set, and like being able to talk through stuff like that was like a dream.
That's dope.
Um,
That's dope. And
yeah,
what a beautiful way for you to be able to use this instrument that you've been developing over your entire life. Like this physicality that you possess,
right.
like getting that for me, those are the jobs I always enjoy the most, where it's like it requires my talent, you know?
Yes, you're like I am ready.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great, especially because my co-stars, we were, like they had, body doubles on set, um, which was also really cool, but we were, like, doing the blocking for it, and I'm, like, picking up this, like it's a rubber chair, the one that we used in the scene, and they're like, "Is that Kylie or is that" like, 'cause it was they're, like, looking at me from behind, and we're, like, doing all of the tests, but it's just funny how, you know, being able to pull something out of your pocket that way, it feels nice to, like you said, use the things that you've trained in a different way.
Hell yeah, that's your instrument at work. I've got one final question about your instrument, uh, which is what is the defining quality that you bring to the table as a storyteller? What is the one thing that sets Kylie Victoria Edwards apart from anyone else?
That's a really hard question. Okay. Um, I would like to think that the thing that sets me apart is the ability to physicalize characters. I think that there is a really strong gift that comes with the dance background that ties into acting because there is this way of being in your body. And I think that typically for me, if I'm trying to access a character, that's the first thing that I do is like think about what are they wearing and how would they exist like in their own skin and bones and in the world. Um and I know that there's a lot of people who come from dance backgrounds, so I don't know if that's necessarily, like, specific to me.
Well, I don't know too many dancers guest starring on FBI, just to say.
Thank you.
I'd agree that that sets you apart. It's a unique thing that you have, and you literally accidentally stumbled upon this love of acting, which I think is just so dope because I don't know, I feel like I've always wanted to be an actor, and I think it's really cool that we're in an industry where somebody not later you weren't old, you were still young, but later, maybe later than most people, choose their career,
Mhm.
you are still able to find yourself in this business and you're killing it.
Thank you. It's funny, I think I've always wanted to act. I think it was just something that I was too scared to admit, and it feels nice to, own that. Like, the claim of identity of I'm an actor feels so nice because I was so scared to say it for a really long time. In the last, 2 years, it's been so nice when people are like, "Well, what do you do?" You're like, "I'm an actor." It feels,
Yeah.
nice to
Yeah. Say that.
to be able to, back it up, you
Yeah.
know?
I love that. I love that for you. Kylie, thank you so much for
Thank
joining me.
you.
You're 6 hours away right now. Folks, she is filming this on another continent. So
Agreed. In my school's tape
school's
room,
tape
if
room
you can,
during finals week. So, Kylie, really can't tell you how much I appreciate you. Good luck with the rest of your semester. Congrats on your recent projects. For the folks listening at home, be sure to check out FBI Most Wanted and American Sports Story. I feel like your career is only going up from here.
Oh, thank you. Means a lot. Thanks for having me on here
Absolutely.
and for letting me speak.
Absolutely. Y'all, if you enjoyed that very heartwarming conversation with Kylie Victoria Edwards, then I'd encourage you to check out our recent episode with Louis Canchelmi from The Penguin. He speaks on this topic that Kylie brought up about not having expectations. I think you get a lot of value from that one. And that's it for today. Big thanks to all of our listeners for tapping into this episode of The Actor's Instrument. If you're streaming, give us a follow. And if you're on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you never miss a beat. We've got a lot of great content coming out. We don't want you to miss any of it. The Actor's Instrument is a presentation of Red Letter Entertainment, executive producers Adam Jellicourse, Serena Esposito, and yours truly. I'm Hassiem Muhammad. We'll be back next Tuesday. Till next time, y'all. Peace.